All right.
Around the whole cycle here.
You should have seen with the Havdalah line this week. This week I decided to do head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Okay, welcome to parsshat Emor, and we're going to do a little bit at the beginning, and then we'll move on into another part of the parsha. So the parsha begins in chapter 21. Emor vayomer Hashem el Moshe Emor lekohanim bnei Aaron v'amarta aleihem v'nefesh lo yitama ba'amav. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, say to the Kohanim, the children of Aharon, and say to them that they are not to become tamei to a corpse among his people. And Rashi explains what does it mean among his people. It means that so long as there are other people to attend to the corpse, then the Kohen is not to be. You're a Kohen, Moshe?
Yeah.
So then the Kohen is not, so is Noach. So then the Kohen is not to become Tamei. And do you need a pen? Yeah, okay. The Kohen is not to become Tamei, but if it's a mate mitzvah, if it happens to be that the Kohen is somewhere and he finds a corpse and there's nobody else around to bury him, he has to bury him, even if he's the Kohen Gadol, even if he's the high priest and he's on his way to doing the service on Yom Kippur, and as a result he won't be able to do the services. He has to take care of the corpse. Now, Then the Torah gives us 7 exceptions. Ki im l'shero hakarov elav. That's referring to his wife. He's allowed to go to the funeral of his wife. Limo le'aviv, to his father's, to his mother, to his father, to his mother's funeral, to his father's. And v'livno v'levito, and to his son and to his daughter. Right, that makes 5. V'lachiv, and to his brother. And also to a sister who is still a virgin, she's never been married, that was never married, to her he can become tamei. So the Ishbitzer explains, well, let me take a step back. The laws of Tumah and Tahara, okay, which I'm going to just sort of loosely translate it, but letting you know that there really is no translation for these 2 words in other languages, because the concept doesn't exist elsewhere. Basically, being tamei, if you're going to translate it as being impure or unclean, then what you're doing is you're giving it a pejorative meaning. You're saying that there's something very negative about it. But the fact is that when you go to a funeral, you become tamei if you're under the same roof as the corpse, or if you're in a building under the same roof where there's a corpse. But going to a funeral is considered chesed shel emet. It's considered true kindness. So if I do something kind for you now, Ian, it's not really chesed shel emet. Why? Because I do something kind for you, and one day you're going to do something, in return for me. But when you go to a funeral, you're not really expecting the corpse to come and bring you a cup of coffee tomorrow. Right?
Right. Unless it's a zombie.
So that's why it's called chesed shel emet, true kindness. Right? You're not expecting anything in return. So you can become tamei by doing a mitzvah. You understand? So it's not a pejorative thing that tamei. Tamei basically means that for one reason or another, whatever it is that caused you to be tamei, you may not enter into the Beit HaMikdash, you may not eat from the sacrifices, you may not perform the duties of a Kohen while you're tamei. A Kohen cannot eat truma while he's tamei, and tahor is the opposite of tamei. Okay, so do we understand these laws? No, they're part of the chukim. They're part of the group of mitzvot that are called chukim, laws that we have the reasons for them have not been revealed. But nevertheless, we do. You will find in various forums some explanation about it. But understand that even when you do find some explanation, it's not because of this explanation that's why you have this law. Okay? And it could be that the commentary, the explanation, will explain a certain aspect about it, something that we can understand about it, something that we can learn from it. Okay, something that we can take a lesson from it. But it's not that the explanation is. It's not that the explanation is the reason that this is a law and now it makes sense, because there's a lot of things that still don't make sense about it. And even in mishpatim, even in laws which we do have some kind of a logical understanding, there are details of these laws that we don't understand. So even in the Mishpatim, that you have aspects that are like Chukim, and in Chukim, you have some things that are Mishpatim like that you do understand it a little bit. So there's a teaching from the Eish Kodesh, from the PSS Rebbe. This is in the Sefer that he wrote in the Warsaw Ghetto, concerning this. There's a verse that we say every day in davening, right? Can you pass me a city, please? Anyone? It's in one of the Psalms after Baruch Shema. So we say every day, we say, Magid Dvarav li Yaakov. Hashem says, teaches his words to Yaakov, Chukav Mishpatev li Yisrael, his Chukim, the laws without explanation, and his Mishpatim, he is given over to the people of Israel. Lo asachen l'chol goy, but he did not do this for the other nations. Mishpatim ba yidaum halaluka, and even the Mishpatim they don't know. Even the laws which have a rational reason, they don't know. So now remember, he's writing this in the Warsaw Ghetto. And so he says that, what does it mean? Hashem tells the people of Israel his chukim and his mishpatim. So he says that the truth is that like for example, if I were to ask Barak, does it make sense to you to keep kosher? He's going to say, huh?
No.
Does it make, I didn't ask if it makes a rational sense, but it makes sense for you to keep kosher? There's some kind of internal sense, there's some kind of an internal sense that when you follow the chukim, even though rationally it doesn't, you can't give an explanation for it, with time, with following the mitzvah and with time, it becomes something that you say, yeah, it makes some kind of sense to me, right? So that's Magid Varav li Yaakov, Chukav Mishpatav li Yisrael. He's telling his words to Jacob. Even the Chukim Jews eventually, even the Chukim Jews eventually get some kind of an understanding. Yeah, like for example, does it make sense to be Shomer Shabbos? You could have your store open and make a lot more money on Shabbos or something like that, right? Does it make sense not to do business on Shabbos? Somebody who keeps Shabbos will tell you absolutely makes total sense, right? Does it make business sense to keep your store closed on Shabbos? No, business-wise, it doesn't make sense, But and we're not even talking about, I'm going more than just the idea that of faith that Hashem is going to provide you with what you need, and you don't have to worry that you're not making a living because of Shabbos, because Hashem is going to give you what you need. But I'm going further than that. In other words, even someone who somebody who's like nowadays it's not so difficult to find a job that you don't have to work on Shabbos, but going back 50, 60 years, it was very difficult for people to have a job that they wouldn't work on Shabbos. And then if you're working in the retail industry, if you're like a store manager or whatever, Shabbos is the big shopping day, But it's so even if business-wise it might not be the best idea, but still there's people. If you keep Shabbos, you begin to understand. There's an understanding that it makes sense to keep Shabbos. I'm a Jew, and you have a certain understanding that yes, I'm keeping Shabbos. So what about 1 second? Yeah, 1 second. I just want to finish this PSS piece. But he says, okay, well, what about the second verse? The second verse where it says that the Goyim, the Gentiles don't even know the Mishpatim. What do you mean they don't know the Mishpatim? Mishpatim are laws that every society understands. So remember, he's writing this in the Warsaw Ghetto. He says, look around. What happened? What happened to the Mishpatim? Don't steal, don't murder. What happened to their Mishpatim? You know, the German society was the most sophisticated of all the European countries. And what happened? All of a sudden, what happened to don't murder, right? So they don't really know it. Okay. Yes.
He has this Rabbi Nachman has a lesson here from Taylor. Tzedek lefanav ya'alech v'yasem derech ba'amav. That tzedek, righteousness will go before you, and you'll make a path with it. That's how he interprets it. And he says when you do a mitzvah again and again and again, it makes a path in the desert where there's sand and there can't be a path, but eventually it makes an indentation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just continually go on the same path, but you have to go over it again and again and again in order to make it.
Very nice.
Which is why keeping kosher now makes sense.
Right.
But when I didn't keep kosher, it didn't make sense until I made the path.
Yeah. A number of years ago, I read on one of these Chabad sheets. This yours, by the way?
Yeah.
No. I read on one of these Chabad sheets. They have a story every week. So
Stories inside.
yeah, not this one. This Israeli Jew in Belgium had a jewelry shop, and one Shabbos morning he shows up at the Chabad house, totally drunk out of his mind. It was like a miracle that he actually found his way to shul. So what's the story? Like, you know, and he was a Sfari on top of that. You know, Sfarim don't handle alcohol as well as Ashkenaz, as well. It's a fact.
No, I know.
As well as Ashkenazim. So it was December time, and the Chabad rabbi had been working with him and encouraging him to keep Shabbos and so on. And he decided, okay, he's going to do it. And his friends who also had jewelry stores along the same strip, they told him, you know, you better take a picture of your money because you're crazy. You know, December, like that's the big time of the year to sell your jewelry because everybody's buying gifts and so on. Anyway, he decided he's going to keep Shabbos. Came that Shabbos morning, the first Shabbos that he was going to keep his store closed, and he's like, Mama, she's torn to pieces. Like, you know, how could I do this? How could I not open the store? How could I not open the store? I'm like, you know, I could make so much money today. But he knew that he wanted to keep Shabbos. But so what did he do? He normally didn't drink very much, and he had a bottle of vodka at home. So he went ahead and he drank it up. Just so that he should be so drunk that he wouldn't dare to open the store. And that's why he showed up in shul, like, you know, drunk out of his mind. So, going back to Tumah and Tahara, the Ishbitzer does give some kind of an explanation or one aspect of it, and he says that basically, when someone is Tamei, their relationship with Hashem is not as it should be. It's a period during which the person who's Tamei has to overcome something. It could be for many different reasons, but he has to overcome something, and it's a matter of how long, you know, the different kinds of tumah. It could be a 1-day tumah, could be a week long, or sometimes it could be longer. But basically, they have to overcome something that happened in their life that caused them to be tamei, but now he's talking particularly with the tumah of death. Okay, so the kohen's job and we're all Kohanim in the sense, but before getting to Torah, Hashem says to us, "Vatem tiyudi mamlechet Kohanim, you shall be for me a kingdom of priests." The job of a Kohen is to help people come closer to Hashem. So if the Kohen is going to be involved with death, not everybody lives to over 95. Sometimes you encounter death, which is like really tragic, God forbid. God forbid, a child, a young man, a father of young children. You know, you hear these things all the time, right? So he says it's pretty much impossible to get involved with death without getting somewhat angry at God. And the Kohen will not be able to do his job if he's angry at God. Okay? But this is true for all of us, understand? But the restrictions on the Kohen are, if we go to a funeral, we also become tamei. But to the Kohanim, Hashem is saying, because of your special role, this is a part of life that you are to stay away from. There's something that it'll interfere with your work as a Kohen. However, close relatives, his wife, his father, his mother, his son, his daughter, his brother, and his unmarried sister, they're too close to him to tell him, don't get involved. Understand? So to these, he is allowed to attend to and become tamei. But otherwise, Hashem is saying, you stay away from that. So, on a day-to-day basis, you know, there are certain things that cause us to have timtum halev. Timtum halev means having a blocked heart. Your heart becomes like a heart of stone, you know, God forbid. And for example, it says if you eat non-kosher food, your heart becomes blocked. It loses its sensitivity to mitzvahs. One Rebbe once said there are two things. One is not a transgression, but it's potentially worse than the biggest of transgressions. And the other one is not a mitzvah for us nowadays, but it has tremendous potency in serving Hashem. Depression, there's nowhere in the Torah does it say you're not allowed to be depressed. But depression is definitely a major, major spiritual block. It definitely gets in the way of serving Hashem. And very often, you know, in this week's parsha, we also have the chapter about the holidays, and it says, "Usmachtem lifnei Hashem alekechem." Serving Hashem has to be with joy. Understand? So you can have a depressed person who's doing all the mitzvahs, you understand, and so on, but it's not really alive. You know, there's no chiyus, there's no life energy in it. It's just like going through the motions, you know. And on the other hand, mikveh, for us nowadays, we still, because we don't have the base of mikdash and so on, so we can go to the mikveh 1,000 times, but we're still not really tahor. Okay? But still, the power of mikveh to motivate you to come closer to Hashem, even though it's not a mitzvah, it has tremendous power. So, even mitzvot that you learn in the Torah that pertain particularly to Kohanim, the Torah is really a Torah for all of us. Every mitzvah relates to every one of us. In practice, in Asiyah, in the world of action, the practice of certain mitzvot are particular for Kohanim, and I'm not a Kohen, so I don't have the practical aspect of that mitzvah. But in terms of studying what the mitzvah is about and relating the mitzvah to my service of Hashem, every mitzvah is for every Jew. And to learn, I can't say, all these mitzvot are for Kohanim, I don't have to learn them. No, on the level of speech and on the level of thought, I have to learn it, I have to understand it. It's a mitzvah for me to relate with these mitzvahs. It's just that in action, this is not for me. Okay. So further in the parsha, it speaks about physical blemishes or problems, defects that disqualify, in the case of animals, that if they have certain defects, they cannot be used as sacrifices. And also in the case of the Kohen himself, if he has certain defects, similar defects, he may not serve as a Kohen. He's still a Kohen, but he may not do the service. Okay. Now the interesting thing is, so what's the idea? The idea is that the Zohar says that the Shekhinah does not dwell in a vessel that is defective. Right? In other words, you're bringing something to God. Okay, it needs to be as perfect as it could be. Okay, you don't bring a king a gift that is, you're giving, let's say, you're gonna, for example, you're giving the king a gift. You're not gonna give him a smashed up car. You're gonna bring him a nice car. You're bringing the king a gift of whatever it is. You're gonna give it. You're gonna give something respectable. So also the servants of Hashem, the Kohanim, also have to be in complete good condition. Okay? Interestingly, is that members of the Sanhedrin, of the High Court of the people of Israel, also had to be without blemish, without defect, and now that's already surprising, because after all, to be on the Sanhedrin, you basically, what is having a physical defect have to do with the judge's knowledge? He can be a huge Talmid Chacham, he can be a great scholar, right? So why does the fact that he's got some kind of serious physical defect, why should that stop him from acting as a judge? So Reb Shlomo explains that the members of the Sanhedrin, they were more than just judges. The Shekhinah would dwell amongst them. And to illustrate that, he brings a teaching from the Yerushalmi, from the Talmud Yerushalmi, and he says if he wouldn't have stated that in the Talmud Yerushalmi, I might think that it was like just some kind of a Hasidic Shemaisa. But the Talmud Yerushalmi says that there's a verse that's quoted. What's the verse? Kichok Israel hu mishpat leLokei Yaakov. And when the Sanhedrin would make a legal decision, it becomes a law for God also. Okay. In other words, let's say the Beis Din decided today is Rosh Hashanah. This is what it says in the Yerushalmi. And because according to their calculations, they figured out that this must be Rosh Hashanah today. Okay? So God tells the angels to set up the bima, the platform, and tells the defense the defending angels and the prosecuting angels to be ready and to come forth and present their arguments. But if in the meantime, the Bezdin decided that no, it's not quite correct that today's Rosh Hashanah, tomorrow is going to be Rosh Hashanah. So God tells the angels, okay, take the platform away, tells the defending and the prosecuting angels, forget it, it's not today, right? So, Kichok the Israel hu mishpat elokei Yaakov, the Bezdin has a certain divine power that even Hashem has to follow their decisions. Okay, and being that this is so, it's not. So in other words, so the Bezdin also the Sanhedrin. There's an aspect of the Shekhinah dwelling amongst them, the divine presence dwelling amongst them. So just like the Kohen has to be perfectly whole, and just like the animal that's going to be brought for a sacrifice has to be perfectly whole, so too the judges also have to be perfectly whole, complete. So Rav Steinsaltz goes further. Did you finish reading it in this week's parsha? Yeah. He goes further and he says like this. He says that there are people who think that, oh, it's really holy, really religious to walk around like a crushed spirit, like
every day.
Huh?
Shabbat.
Every day they think like like some people think that that I really got to crush my Yetzer Hara. But he says the problem is that like for example there are religious. Huh?
That's your Yetzer Hara question, you.
There are some religious sects where they not only practice celibacy, but they actually would castrate themselves, right? So that they shouldn't have any, sexual desires. Besides the fact that that doesn't help you with jealousy and doesn't help you with, with other issues, right? But he says you're not allowed to. According to the Jew, isn't even allowed to. You're not allowed to neuter your dog. You're not allowed to spay your cat.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
The next dog.
Go ahead.
No, he doesn't have a dog. No, he likes
Actually,
cats.
next cat.
Okay, because interfering with the way Hashem created, but the point for us is that you have a Yetzer Hara. If you kill your Yetzer Hara, your creativity is going to be destroyed too. You need to learn how to live with your Yetzer Hara and master it. Okay, but if you crush yourself, there goes your creativity. He says you see a lot of Bali Tshuva. They had bright. They were like bright, shining lights in whatever they were doing before, and then they become Bali Tshuva, and all of a sudden they just look morose all the time, and their creativity is gone. That's not what Hashem wants. You got to serve Hashem with joy, and if you have creativity, you got to serve Hashem with your creativity also.
Serve Hashem with judo.
With judo, right?
Or with plays.
Huh?
Or with plays. Plays. I'm writing a play
Plays.
right now.
Yeah. Whatever you have creativity, right? It's like I've heard that Bali Tshuva would come to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, like artists and so on, creative people, and they'd say, "Well, what should I do now?" The Rebbe would say, "Continue doing what you were doing, but now do it for the sake of Hashem." Right? Don't crush your creativity. Don't castrate yourself. Right? That's not what Yiddishkeit is about. Yiddishkeit is about being a whole person, using all your gifts and all your talents to serve Hashem.
What I meant with my comment was
What?
What I meant with my comment is what you taught in the past.
I know, I understood you.
Using the energy of not everyone.
Right.
Using the energy from the Yetzirah to serve the Yetzirah.
Right. So that's a really important lesson. And there's a terrible joke that was going around the internet a number of years ago. About this Balshuva couple, they had a really bright kid in grade 3, and they put him into one of these, really religious schools, and the kid was having trouble there. The principal called them in, and the wife didn't really speak Hebrew so much yet, but the father was able to understand Hebrew. Anyway, the principal was talking with the father. Anyway, his wife says to the wife says to her husband, "What's he saying?" And he's saying, "Oh, they're going to give him a lobotomy and he'll be okay." You understand the idea that there are schools where
what time period was it?
it's a joke, but it's not really a joke. That's the tragedy.
Uh,
They don't do lobotomies. But what they mean, but what he meant to say is that
But that's what they want.
that's what they'd like to do.
They
You
have
understand?
a mold and they try to squeeze the kid into it.
I got that on.
Right? You understand? In other words, and as some of us well know.
Yeah.
Right? And they destroy kids in that way. They turn out a mold. They'll mold the kid into a particular type of being, but they've destroyed the kid's creativity. They've made a mess of that, and that's not education. That's not what the Torah wants. Okay. So this is a very important thing. You understand? So it might sometimes it could be that that a person is having a particularly difficult time with a certain mitzvah, or so it might be necessary to take an oath for a certain period of time. For example, the Nazir, right? But even the Nazir, when he finishes being a Nazir, he has to bring a sin offering, right? Because Hashem gave you enough things that you're not allowed to do. Why are you taking on additional restrictions? So,
what about being a vegetarian?
If you do it as an oath, no. Being a vegetarian, we're allowed to eat meat. If you make vegetarianism into a religion, if you say that as a religious principle, that's problematic. But the Torah didn't say you have to eat meat. In halacha, there's on Purim you have to have something fleshy, but that's about it.
Really?
Yeah. But for example, if you normally eat meat, so then you have to eat meat on Shabbos also. Understand? But if you're vegetarian and you're not into eating meat, you don't have to be a carnivore. But Rav Kook was a vegetarian, and so on. And there's discussion about the.
Wasn't he fleshik on Shabbos though?
No, he didn't
Oh,
eat fleshik on Shabbos. He was vegetarian, as far as I know.
Oh.
The problem with the Nazir is that he was not participating fully in the world. Is that what you're saying?
The word Nazir in a certain sense means sort of he separated himself, he took on the vow of Nazirut, and now he's not allowed to participate in the drink. He can't even eat grapes, or even right. Can't drink wine, can't eat grapes, etc. So can't cut his hair. So he's taken this vow because he was having trouble. He saw an unfaithful woman, right? Which is sort of like a way of saying that he was looking at people and at situations not the way that we're supposed to, and so he he felt that he needed to take on this extra restriction. It doesn't necessarily have to be just for being a Nazir. In general, there is an Indian of, like, taking a vow is a very powerful thing. For example, we were talking about this today in Reb Fink's class, right? Let's say, for example, somebody wants to stop smoking, and he's tried many times and he doesn't manage, and he decides, okay, he's going to take a vow not to smoke, so or for a certain period of time. So it becomes like a mitzvah for this person that he's not allowed to smoke.
What level of Torah prohibition?
Huh?
What level of Torah
It
prohibition?
comes to it's the level of Torah prohibition for him. Okay, so it's a very powerful thing, and one can do that. You understand? One can do that, but but otherwise, so let's say, for example, so we were talking. How did we get into this? Because we're talking about how do you deal with your Yetzer Hara, right? So you got to learn how to deal with your Yetzer Hara, right? So there are times that taking a vow could be helpful. Okay, but that has to be done with care. But the idea is don't try to suffocate it. Don't try to crush it to death, because that will affect your creativity. It will affect your serving Hashem as a complete being. Okay.
Both hearts. Both hearts.
With both hearts, right? B'chol levavcha, Rashi says, with both hearts, with your Yetzer HaTov and with your Yetzer Hara. Okay? So, the Tanya says that, what if somebody, this is in the chapters where he's talking about serving Hashem with joy. So some people get sad and they get depressed because whereas the guy at the next table in the Bis Medrash is learning away like crazy and is like mamish, like, growing in his learning and so on, and I have to sit there and constantly struggle not to speak Lashon Hara, or just constantly struggling, not to run out of the Bis Medrash and go have a ham sandwich, whatever it might be. These are just examples, okay? So some people, they want to be close to Hashem, and they would like to be learning a whole bunch, and they would like to be davening like crazy, etc., etc. And all they're managing to do is to hold themselves back, to have some control over the Yetzer Hara. And that makes them sad. Like, why do I have to do this? Well, it's Hashem's decision that that's the kind of thing that you have to deal with. And you need to know that if the Talmud says that if you're tempted to do a transgression and you control yourself and you don't do it, it's like you did a mitzvah. See, right now, I'm not eating something that's not kosher. But for me, I'm not actually doing a mitzvah because, honestly speaking, that's not my temptation. But if that were my temptation, if if after the class, after you guys leave and you don't see, and I want to call, this pizzeria and say, give me an all dressed, and I'm already dialing the number and they answer the phone and I ordered it. And then 2 minutes later, I call up and I say, cancel the order, then I've done a mitzvah. It's like, it's the not transgressing in such a case is like a mitzvah. So we're all Hashem's. All of us are servants of Hashem. Understand? And some of us have to serve in one way. Some of us have to serve in another way. Okay. The idea is that if Hashem is giving you creativity, then Hashem wants you to use your creativity in serving Him. Right? if Hashem has given you the ability to make a school, okay, so go out and make a school. You've got the creativity for doing it, whatever it is, like use your talents completely, and don't crush, don't make yourself into a defective, imperfect being. Now, if God made somebody a hunchback and as a result he can't be a member of the Sanhedrin, so then that's what God did. But for someone to go and cause himself to blemish himself in some way that is going to stop him from serving Hashem in the complete sense, you're not allowed to. And one of the mitzvahs that is mentioned in this week's parsha is also the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Right? And one of the ideas behind Sfirat HaOmer, so the Alter Rebbe explains, Usfartem Lachem. And by the way, we've been learning the mimer of Usfartem Lachem the last couple of weeks. They're on YouTube and also on Facebook if you want to follow it. You just, go to Yeshivat Simchat Shlomo and type in, Sfirat HaOmer, you'll find the lessons. So the Alter Rebbe explains the Sfartem Lachem, that the word Sfartem is related to the word Sapir, Even Sapir. We walk down the street going to Mayanot every Shabbos called Even Sapir. It means a sapphire. The idea is so we have these emotional attributes, chesed, love, fear, compassion, etc., etc. And these emotional attributes, they can be used in a negative way, and they could be used in a positive way. The idea of the period of Sfirat HaOmer is that to refine our emotional attributes, right, such that they should reflect Hashem's light. Okay? Your love should reflect Hashem's light. Your severity should be so refined that it shouldn't be about this is about me. It should be a reflection of God's will in this world. That's the Indian of one of the aspects of Sfirat HaOmer. How do you transform these things? How do you transform these things? So basically, in Chabad, the teaching is to have bittul, to nullify the egotistical self to Hashem. Doesn't mean to destroy yourself, but to give yourself over to Hashem's will. What did you want to say?
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, but what I was going to say is, what would you say about Hod? Because Hod is one of the more confusing ones to me.
Yeah.
Especially, we're in the week of Hod,
Right.
the Bag Omer is coming up, and Hod Shabbat is, Shimon Bar Yosai Yartzeit.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say about Hod?
Right now, I'm not going to say because I don't have the words. Yes, I agree that Hod is not an easy one to understand. And Netzach and Hod are about overcoming. Netzach is to overcome internal obstacles to achieve what you need to achieve. Hod is about overcoming obstacles from the outside. But they're both, Netzach and Hod are related with our legs. So Netzach and Hod are the Sfirot that you need to put your Chesed and Gevura into action. You need your Netzach and Hod to carry it out. Okay, so Netzach is the emotion of wanting to be victorious over all obstacles, but particularly it's talking about the obstacles from within, and Hod is the obstacles that are from outside. But that is only like one or two sentences, and it doesn't explain nearly everything about it, and it doesn't explain like why, in what way is Aaron a Kohen, the archetype of Hod, and so on. So we'll learn more about it in Yisrael Hashem. So last night we counted how much? 29. So we are in the week of Hod. One way that I understand Hod, which I don't know if it's really correct, it's like maybe it works. Let's say you're painting, you're doing a painting. There comes a point when you're doing the painting that if you add one more stroke, you've ruined it. Right? There comes a point when you're writing the poem, you add one more word, you've ruined it. Right? So in other words, it's like sort of stopping something from the outside that says, "Oh, do this or do that," or it's like sort of like saying, "No, it's beautiful now," type of thing. Okay.
Could you say something about Sfirat HaOmer is supposed to be a happy time?
That's the way it used to be, yeah.
For like the students.
Mm-hmm.
What happened if they brought about a plague if they were all Talmidei Chachamim?
So the Gemara says, "Shelo nahavu kavod zeh bazeh." They didn't respect each other enough. It's just because you're a Talmid Chacham doesn't, the Gemara says, "Kol hagadol mechavero yitzcho gadol hemeno." Whoever is greater than his friend also has a bigger Yetzer Hara. One guy could have a Yetzer Hara to steal a package of gum, and the other one has a Yetzer Hara to rob the bank. So Reb Steinsaltz says that even we don't have any other period in the year where we have such a long period of mourning, 30 days. Even when we're mourning over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, it's just 3 weeks, right? So he says that yes, the Gemara says that that it's associated with the plague among Rabbi Akiva's students, but he says that the truth is that the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos is a period for getting ready for the big marriage that's taking place between Hashem and the people of Israel on Shavuot. And you need to get ready. So it's like you need time to focus on getting ready to be fully present at Har Sinai. So who has time for weddings? Who has time for concerts, etc., But later on, when Rabbi Akiva's students perished in the plague, so then it was associated already with them as well. But it's sort of like saying that, everybody has work to do to get ready for Shavuot, for Matan Torah, even if you're a big scholar. In other words, You got to watch it. You got to be careful with how you are. You got to watch out how you're treating somebody, how much respect you have for somebody. Because if you don't, not only are you not going to be ready to receive the Torah, but you can bring about destruction, God forbid.
What you're saying about rebuke,
Mm-hmm.
knows how to give it, rebuke.
Yeah.
No one knows how to receive it.
That's the Gemara, by the way. The Gemara decides that. Yeah. So, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. All of these. Don't think that you've done this, you've done that, you've reached a plateau. If you think that you can plateau out, that means watch out.
There's a cliff you're gonna go over.
Right. Okay, have a good Shabbos, everybody. Kultiv, sorry that it took a while to get started.
Cool.
Yeah. I think